Hey, what it do, people? Peek out here in Singapore Monday morning, and I'm getting ready to run out of the house real quick and get some groceries so I can do meal prep today. So my client wants to pick up today, but I have a pretty long day ahead of me because right after I finish meal prepping, I gotta run out and head to the temple. That means I need time to get dressed, y'all, but it's gonna be an interesting day anyway. So today is a public holiday again. Baby girl's out of school, so I don't have to worry about running off to go pick her up or anything. And if I plan it right, I think I can get all of this done. I'm actually going to leverage my crock pot again today and see if I can get as much food cooked as possible. So on the menu, I have paella, like an easier version of paella. It's going to be a slow cooker, one pot meal. And then I also have an Italian chicken and potatoes dish as well, also slow cooker. And French toast for breakfast. So that's what I'm actually preparing for my client. And outside of that, I need to make sure that, baby girl gets some of her homework done so that she's prepared for the spelling test that'll be tomorrow. And yeah, lots to do. Plenty of time to do it, and if I don't procrastinate. So I was talking to you yesterday a little bit about the fact that I was slacking more than I'd like to admit, but I think I'm getting there. I think having opened up a channel for Kutiji actually helps me focus and make sure that there's something to post, something that we've created, something that we've done together, some kind of experience that I can post and say, hey, we're doing stuff. We're not just sitting around talking about it. We're not talking about one day I dream. We're actually doing it a little bit at a time. So there's the kind of, the wrap up for now. I've been working on the TED Talk that my cousin is getting ready to deliver here August 24th in Malaysia. And I'm really excited actually because I've never actually considered what all goes into presenting a TED Talk of all things. I mean, it's different to get up in front of a university and speak about disability and accomplishment and achievement, all those things, but it's very different to get in front of a TED Talk because I didn't realize that they actually give you a subject to write the material around. Obviously, it's your take on what that subject matter is, and then the emotions that go through actually writing the speech, possibly losing the speech, possibly not feeling the same way you did when you first wrote it, and trying to rewrite it again. Like, so many things go through that, right? So it's really interesting, and I've enjoyed that process. But as always, most of my big nuggets of wisdom come from movies. I get to watch hundreds of people and their dynamics in a movie, and obviously it's not all real, but they are based in truth somewhere because it's life imitating art, imitating life, right? So that's where I'm getting it from, and I feel pretty good about that. And that's why I called this "The Truth About Cats and Dogs." Now, yes, that is a movie back in the 80s or 90s. I'm not sure which one, but it's not that movie that I'm actually talking about. I watched a recent movie that was released. I think it came out last year. It's called How to Train Your Dog or Choose Your Second Husband. And I thought that was really funny. And it would have been, one of those lighthearted comedies that I can watch instead of this action-packed drama, which is, ongoing serials like the rom-coms that we see on TV, ongoing drama series that something is always going wrong and someone's always panicking for their life and someone's always crying like I didn't want to do that. So I found a movie that was a little more lighthearted and I really enjoyed it. And obviously because they were training dogs in the movie, I thought, well, wow, this is amazing, and I see a lot of the similarities. Anyway, I remember when I interviewed Amy Morford, and she is the German Shepherd, German Shepherd Country, I think is her website, but she trains all kinds of dogs, and she has this great series on what to do, what to look out for. And it's not just training the dog, it's also training the trainer, the parent, the owner, right? So I thought that was really interesting because there's a parallel with that as well. When you train your child, as in like raise your child, you're also changing the way you behave so that the child actually understands. Both things in common, you don't understand their language. That concept when they talk about men are from Mars and women are from Venus, all that stuff, we don't speak the same language, that's absolutely right. We've got to learn with every relationship that we're in, male, 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 female, 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 it doesn't matter, right? In every situation, in every relationship, we need to learn to speak the other person's language. Yes, there will be a lot of commonalities. There is a general universal language, hopefully, like you all speak Chinese or you all speak Tamil, you all speak English, something like that, right? But everyone has their own way of expecting what the other person wants, whether they say it or not. And eventually how that they have tells. It's almost like playing poker. right? You're reading your opponent, you're learning your opponent, and this is like, against the other person at this point. But when you're working together with someone, you got to still learn the same thing. You still got to learn the other person. And a lot of that comes down to understanding what you want, understanding who you are, so then you have the space to connect to the other person and realize, okay, this is how they say this, whereas this is how I say this, right? So back to dogs and cats. This one didn't have any cats at all involved, but I wanted to introduce that concept a little bit later on. But point being, she raised a puppy. She realized that as much as she says sit, stand, let's go outside, call them by their name, they don't understand until there's repetition, until you use an authoritative voice, until you take full command of the situation. Not to say that you're overbearing, but you have a tone of voice that says, hey, I'm serious, this is what I want you to do, right? So the more people speak sometimes, the less the other person is inclined to listen, unless you show them that you're also listening to them. So with the puppy, she learned that, it's going to pee wherever it wants until it has learned that there is a specific place that it's allowed to pee. Until then, you got to run around behind it cleaning up. Same thing with kids. They're going to do what they do until they realize that they can trust you, that you do have their best interests at heart, and you're looking out for their well-being, so that when they say don't do this, the child actually takes it seriously and doesn't actually do it. But that's dogs, right? Dogs are the kind of creatures that are looking for affection at every chance they get. They want to be around you. They will always forgive you. They always come back around. And I feel like if I were to draw a similarity, I think children are like dogs. They want to be with you. They want to be with you all the time. They're excited to see you. I remember when every time I knocked on the door, anytime my daughter heard the key in the lock, right? Or I would do this on purpose. I would ring the doorbell, even though I had the key to come home. When we were living with my grandparents, I would ring the doorbell on purpose just to hear the, ah, oh my God, oh my God, behind the door, because she was excited. She got all amped up, and it was the greatest feeling in the world. It really fed my ego. I'm not going to lie. She really felt like she loved me and she couldn't wait to see me, and she was so excited, and I loved it. But there were people in the house that'd be like, oh my gosh, shush, stop making so much noise, calm down, don't do that. It's just your mom, relax, just go to the other room, relax, stop making so much noise, you can't make that much noise. And I was like, man, they done beat that out of there, and I felt really bad about it. But that's how I feel, right? So kids are akin to puppies because they really, really want your attention, they want to be around you, and there are some people in your life that are really just children at heart, and they act the same way. They really just want to be around you. They really enjoy life. They get excited. They show their emotions. No problems, right? So at that point, it's our responsibility to understand what excites them, because it's easier than having to ask them, because they'll show it on their face. They can't hide it. But you need to understand what excites them, what upsets them, and how you can live your life so that they get what they want and you get what they want. The idea is to understand, right? But with cats, it's a little different. And with cats, I'm thinking, you know what? I don't have that much experience with cats per se, but everyone's idea of a cat is, oh, they do what they want. You can't train them. They are individuals all by themselves. They're very, very independent. They don't like being petted. They don't ask for any of that affection stuff. They'll come to you when they feel like it. And otherwise, you just let them be. So, when I was thinking about that and trying to figure out, well, okay, if training animals is like this, then why is it that the personality difference is very, very stark between dogs and cats? And I was thinking, all right, well, if kids are like dogs and they really want to be around you and they just continue to come after you, they want you, so excited about life in general, they get excited about the slightest things. Who are cats like? So I got to thinking, and I think my opinion is that cats are more like adults. It's like cats have had their excitement kind of beaten out of them. They know that, there is a reality that they have to accept, and they expect you to understand them by osmosis, almost. Because sometimes with cats, it's like a moving target, right? Sometimes one thing works and it makes them happy, and sometimes it doesn't. They're in a mood. It doesn't work that way. And I think adults are a lot like that, because I feel like adults expect you to know them, but are very hesitant to open up and say anything. Now, they're really good about talking to other adults, the ones that aren't involved with them. If I hurt your feelings, you go to somebody else and be like, oh my God, I wish you just understand. This is what I wanted. Whereas the simplest thing in the world would have been to just come and tell me, hey, you did this. and that's cool and everything, but I don't really like what you did. It'd be better if you did this instead. It'd have been simple, right? But we got egos involved, we got pride that's hurt, you got all these emotions you got to deal with. So instead, we go tattle to somebody else, hoping that, magically, because you told somebody else, I'll figure it out, right? So I feel like, as odd as it may sound, I'm drawing a parallel here. And yeah, sure, I might be wrong. You may not feel the same way about it, but hear me out. We still need to learn how cats operate. Each individual cat is very different from the other, right? If you get kittens, maybe you can train them a little bit because they know what to expect from you. They've known you since birth. But a lot of people that adopt cats or pick up strays or, I don't know, they have grown cats, right? Or maybe, they're going through a teenage phase, whatever, and the cat changes. They no longer want what they always wanted before they've changed. And I think that's very similar to a lot of relationships. In the beginning, it's new. You want to be around each other all the time. It's like that puppy dog phase, love, the puppy love and all that stuff. Honeymoon phase, people call it. And it's so exciting. It's so new. You want that attention. You want to give the attention. You feel good about everything, right? And you're good about gushing over each other and saying please and thank you and oh my gosh, it's so great. But at some point, the honeymoon phases, the bloom is off the rose, so to speak, and you kind of go through this phase where suddenly you don't say as much. You don't tell the other person what you expect. You don't communicate anywhere because you pretend like you've already covered all that in the beginning. And maybe the other person didn't listen, and maybe you didn't say all of the the specifics of what you like and what you don't like. But at some point, the things that you thought were so cute about the other person start to irritate the shit out of you, right? And you want to kind of just like choke them or shake them into, hey, this is what I want. But you don't want to say it out loud because why should you say it? Why should I tell you? You should know. You should know me. Don't you know me? You've been with me for so long. Don't you know me yet? I guess that's how much you've been paying attention to me. And that's all that, that passive aggressive, underhanded comments, hitting below the belt, all that shit comes up all of a sudden. And it's a lot like a cat, I think. They give you a lot of attitude. They strike back sometimes. But they are very, very individual characters. And I feel like in a relationship, yes, you need to know who you are, but you also need to allow yourself to grow throughout the relationship. In the beginning, you may believe that this is the way to a happy marriage and this is what I'm going to do. And later on, things change and you realize that, okay, I've done that for a while and it doesn't actually get the result that I'm looking for, or I've put my thoughts and likes and wants on the back burner to be able to be everything the other person wants, but I'm not getting my needs fulfilled. So at some point, you need to go back to the drawing board, not all the way back at the beginning, a new drawing board, clean the slate, start over again, and be like, all right, the person you were a couple of years ago when we first met, that's not the person I'm seeing now. And the person that I was in the beginning, I'm not the same either. I've changed. Maybe my job has changed me. Maybe growing up and living together has changed me. But at some point, you got to go back to that drawing board. You got to sit down and talk to each other and say, hey, this works, this doesn't work. What can we change? Because if you think about companies, that's what they do, right? Every quarter, they look at the bottom line. Have they made a profit? Have they not made a profit? And are they retaining employees or are they losing employees? Okay, I honestly don't know if they think about the employees like that, but that would be cool. They do employee reviews. They look at your performance and look and see if you've been contributing as much or if you're slowing down, if you're getting better, promotions and demotions and warnings, all that stuff. But at every junction of a company, they look at the health of the company. Now, we're all supposed to go get health checkups once a year. Most of us don't go until something's wrong. But the point is, at some point, you're going to have to drop everything you knew, address the concerns at hand, and tell the doctor the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Because if you miss out even one symptom, they're going to misdiagnose you. And then they're going to tell you, well, if you'd have told me that, I would have known better. But hey, they should have asked as well, right? Swinging door. Anyway, I feel like dealing with dogs seems to be a lot easier because they want the affection. All you got to do is give the affection. But I know also that as adults, we don't always appreciate the affection when it's given. because we have other things going on in our minds. Maybe I'm in a bad mood because work pissed me off when I came home. My husband was excited to see me and I didn't receive him the way that I would have if I hadn't been in a bad mood. And he took my bad mood as, oh, here she go again. And he thinks it's personal and he takes offense and then he shuts down the rest of the evening. And then when I'm ready, when I've calmed down from my day and I want to go be with him and I want his affection, he's no longer in the mood because I turned him off sometime. So I guess what I started out to say was that, adults can be more cat-like and young children are more dog-like. But as I talked, I realized that, you know what? There are phases in our relationships too. But that also means we need to give ourselves room to grow. Just because I was one way in the beginning of a relationship, I need to realize that I'm not going to be that way 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, after kids, after the death of family members, after burying our parents. I'm going to change. I'm going to continually change. And if I feel like I'm allowed to change, I need to accept that the other person is also allowed to change. So many emotions with that movie, and it was great. I loved it, every little bit of it. It reminded me of how complex human relationships can be. And the funniest revelation, the woman that the main character, the main heroine in the story, she was a marriage therapist, but her relationship was falling apart. She was so consumed with giving advice to other people that she had put her job first and had not given space for her marriage. And even though her husband would retaliate like a puppy does sometimes, because puppies do tear up stuff, and they do get destructive, and they do chew on things they shouldn't, and they do poop in places they shouldn't, even when they know better, because they're acting out, because they're angry. She didn't realize what those behaviors were saying. She didn't dig deeper in her own marriage. She just took it at face value and took offense and kept on going. Imagine what would happen if we had the emotional intelligence to recognize when someone was acting out of character and then to ask them what was going on in a manner where they really feel like you cared, not like, oh, I'm irritating you again. Oh, okay. You know what? I'm not going to answer your question. I believe there are always warning signs before a relationship turns for the worst. I believe that both parties go through changes based on each other sometimes when there's not a lot of communication going on. We take a lot of offense. And it's not that the offense is given on purpose. We just take offense. We take it personally. I've been accused of taking things personally when I'm upset. Oh, hell yeah. When I'm upset, I'm going to take it personally. Because anything you say can and will be used against you in the next argument. I'm human too. But I also know that once I've said what I need to say, and it's not always nice, and they've said what they need to say, and it's usually pointed, at some point I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get away from the situation. I'm going to go retreat to my corner and lick my wounds. But I'm going to come back and be like, you know what? Okay, you had a point. I didn't like the point, but you had a point. Here's what we're going to do from here. That's what emotional intelligence does. It gives you the capacity to feel and then think. Feel, think, act. Feel, think, act. That's it. That's the whole formula. Feel, then think, then act. Not feel, act, think. It's not one of those situations where it's easy to beg for forgiveness and ask for permission. Don't do that. Feel, think, act. You want to learn how to feel and then think? Come talk to me. Let's set up a game plan. How do you achieve these things? And there are so many different ways we can work. It'll be fine, I promise. So I hope that made sense. I did take a shift in the conversation at some point, but still I think it was all relevant. And I think I had a couple of, revelations as I was speaking too. I like that. I enjoyed that. I love you guys. I'll talk to you again soon.